with his attorneys, Ms. Brady, Mr. King, Ms. Nelson, Ms. Higgs, and Ms. Spengler. The people are represented by Mr. Brockler, Mr. Orman, Ms. Pearson, Mr. Edson, and Ms. Stitch McGuire. And we are outside the presence of the jury at this time. One scheduling matter. There's a juror who has a medical appointment not this Friday, but the following Friday. So that would be June 5th. And so I think what we're probably going to have to do is take a lunch break between 1 and 3 o'clock, or 1:15 and 3:15. And what I was hoping to do is to maybe stay here a little bit later, maybe till 5:30 that day. But before I ask the jurors, I want to make sure that counsel can do that on Friday, June 5th. Are the people available to do that?
We are, Your Honor.
All right. Is the defense available to do that? Okay, thank you. One other housekeeping matter, sort of housekeeping matter. Yesterday I made a record at the end of the day related to a ruling that I made and an objection to the question about were you scared? And I talked about how I have allowed that question in the past or when witnesses are testifying about at which point they became scared during the shooting. And we've had a lot of witnesses who have said that initially they thought this was fireworks or a joke, and then eventually they realized that it was a dangerous situation. And so I talked about that yesterday. I should have made a record about one other objection, and that is that there was an objection to hearsay or on hearsay grounds when Ms. Cross was testifying. That's the last witness who testified yesterday. And at the time the objection was made, it was related to the question about the names of her friends, whether she remembered the names of the friends that she had seen in the theater and in the theater next door. And the question did not call for hearsay, although she started the answer by saying something like, I called out, and that's when the objection was made. She had already testified without objection that she had yelled and screamed for help. And so the question then was, and more specifically, I think she had said something like, I had been yelling and screaming for help for my friends, or one of my friends that I knew was in the theater. And then after that, the question, I think, was along the lines of, and do you remember who your friends were, or the name of your friends, or something along those lines. And that's when the objection was made. So she had already said that she had yelled for help, and the question did not call for hearsay, although I realized that the initial part of her answer was, I called out for, and then she went into who her friends were. So at that point, I didn't think it was an objection that should be sustained. But secondly, even if this was hearsay, I think it falls within the excited utterance exception because the three foundational requirements are there. And that is, you have, number one, an event that was sufficiently startling to render normal reflective thought processes inoperative. Number two, the statement was a spontaneous reaction to the event. And number three, direct or circumstantial evidence is available to allow the jury to infer that the declarant had the opportunity to observe the startling event. So this was someone who testified that as she and her friend were trying to leave the theater during the shooting, she realized that her friend had somehow become unconscious, and she was holding his head in her hands and yelling out for help. So, all right, with that additional record, before we bring the jury in this morning, is there anything we need to talk about at this time on behalf of the prosecution? Mr. Orman.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Is there anything we need to talk about at this time on behalf of the defense? Ms. Spengler.
No.
All right, let's bring the jury in, please. Please be seated, everyone. The record should reflect that the jury is back in the courtroom. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How are you doing? Good. A couple of notes before we start. One of you has a medical appointment on Friday, not this Friday, but Friday of next week. So that's June 5th. So we'll plan to take our lunch break between 1 and 3 or 1:15 and 3:15. So it'll be a late lunch and it'll be a 2-hour lunch instead of an hour and a half. To make up for that lost time, is everyone here available to stay until 5:30 that Friday? Okay. Is there anybody who's not available to stay until 5:30? Can I check? Yes, you can check. And that's why I'm telling you in advance. So the answer was not yes or no, but maybe, and that's okay. So let my staff know once you find out. If anybody cannot stay until 5:30 that particular Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday, Friday, June 5th, all right? And we'll plan probably to take a couple of shorter breaks in the morning since we won't be taking a lunch break until 1 or 1:15. And then we may have an afternoon break, it depends. If we start at 3, we probably will take a short afternoon break. Otherwise, it'll be too long to go without a break. But by staying till 5:30, it'll allow us to make up for a little bit of the time that we're going to lose that day. The other thing I wanted to tell you is that this Friday, lunch will be on us, so plan accordingly, okay? We can't buy lunch every day or even every week, but every once in a while we're able to do that. And so this Friday, you can plan on having lunch here. And today, as I mentioned, is a day when we're going to take an early lunch break, as you know, because of a medical appointment that we're trying to accommodate for one of you, all right? The last thing is that I know you've been here a while now. If there's anything I can do to make your stay more comfortable here, please let my staff know that that's important to me. You're here for a while, and so I want to make sure that you're as comfortable as possible. We have limitations, as you know, you've found out by now, but there are certain things within those limitations that I can do or that we can do to make sure you're as comfortable as possible. So don't hesitate to tell my staff that, and I know that, frankly, you've done that already. So, but I just want to make sure that you understand, you know that it's important to me that you are as comfortable as reasonably possible. All right? Okay, with that, let's go ahead and get started. The prosecution may call its next witness at this time.
Nathan Juranic, Your Honor.
Good morning, sir. Could I have you raise your right hand for me so that I can administer an oath? Do you solemnly swear or affirm on a penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, please be seated. Could you please tell us your full name for the record, and please spell your first, middle, and last names?
My name is Nathan Michael Juranic, Nathan, Michel, Juranek.
You may proceed, Mr. Orman.
Thank you. Mr. Juranic, I think maybe you should pull that microphone a little bit closer so we can hear you. Why don't you try it that way and we can move it if we need to. Want to ask you some questions about the events from July 19th into the early morning hours of July 20th of 2012, specifically in Theater 9 at the Century 16 Theater in Aurora. Were you there?
Yes.
Before we get to what happened in the theater, I want to ask you a couple of questions leading up to that. How old are you now, sir?
I am 20 years old.
How old were you then?
18.
Who were you with at the theater?
I was with a friend of mine, my sister, and her 2 friends.
What was your friend's name?
Leoka Lucero.
I think you're going to have to spell that for Madam Court Reporter.
Her first name is Leioka. Last name Lucero.
How'd you get there? How'd you get to the theater?
We were brought to the theater by my dad. He picked up Leoka and my sister's two friends, separate houses, and he brought us to the theater.
What were the names of your sister's friends?
Charlie, Charlie, and Brent, Brent.
You know their last names?
Butterworth, Butterworth.
Like the pancake syrup?
Yes.
So I want to get into what happens in the theater, but what time did you get there?
Around 11:15 at night.
And did you do anything before you actually went into auditorium number 9? In other words, concessions, anything like that?
No, we got concessions after we got into the theater and found seats.
When you got into the theater, how crowded was it?
Very crowded.
Was it hard to find seats?
Yes.
In fact, did you and your friend and your sister and her friends move around?
Yes.
What I want to do is have you tell us where you were at the end, where you were all seated, and then we're going to use this model here to sort of show how you guys are moving around. So if
Okay.
I can, Your Honor, I'd like to approach with a blank diagram of the theater, which I've marked for identification purposes. This is People's Exhibit 1222.
Okay.
Do you recognize that as a diagram of the theater?
Yes.
Could you do me a favor? Some pens over there. Could you grab one of those? And write your name on the top of that. Could you put on there the final places where you and your friend and your sister and her friends were seated? And if you could put like me for you and the initials for everybody else. And in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you about seeing some flashes. Did you see some flashes?
Yes.
Could you put a circle around the area where you saw the flashes and then right inside that flashes for me? May I approach the witness, Your
You
Honor?
may.
And sir, what I need you to do for me also, just so we can have this totally clear, after you're done pouring your water, put your last name on there too, please. Your Honor, I move to admit 1222.
Any objection, Mr. King?
No.
All right, without objection, P-TR-1222 is admitted and may be published.
Thank you. Actually, I'm not going to publish it at this time, Your Honor. I'm going to ask to use the model. So, sir, if you don't mind, should be a cordless microphone there. There you go. Why don't you come on down here to this model? And do you recognize this as sort of a model of Theater 9? Okay, use that microphone there. Stand back here. And see these yellow lines here? Those would be the walls, but we took them out because it was kind of hard to see. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So the theater screen would be up here. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't you tell me where you and your friends and your sister were originally and then where you moved to by showing us on this model.
We were sitting 5th row from the top. We were all sitting in this row together.
Yes, sir.
And then first they decided, my sister and her friends decided to move to the outer row above the entrance.
So like right around here?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Or
then
was it these two seats over
these two seats in this back seat. And then finally they moved down to the very front row near the guardrail.
So that's where they were.
Yes.
All right. Now, I want to ask you a couple more questions about what's going on in the theater. At some point in time, was the movie playing?
No.
Well, did the movie start?
No, not yet.
Okay. Let's go to the time it did.
Okay.
Okay. At some point, did the movie start?
Yes.
Okay. When the movie started, did you see something unusual that you wouldn't normally expect to see in a movie?
No.
What was the first thing unusual you saw?
During the movie when something flew across the screen.
There you go. So tell me about that. What was the first unusual thing you saw?
A smoke grenade flying across the screen, which looked like someone threw a water bottle with no cap on.
Did you see where it went? I mean, what direction it was going, anything like that you could point out on this model?
It flew across the screen and landed on the front row.
You think it landed there? Okay. Now, you say it was smoke. Did you ever have any type of reaction to what
I had
that
a
was?
hard time breathing. My eyes started to get watery. I had scratchy feeling in my throat.
And where were you when that happened?
Still in the same seats.
After the item that caused you that discomfort and the scratchiness and whatnot, did you see any flashes related to sounds that sounded like gunfire?
Yes.
Where was that? And this will be the last thing I ask you to do with the model. So if you could just point out, where was that?
Right in this area, right near the door.
Okay. Why don't you take that microphone, turn it off, and go back to your seat. I want to go back to the thing that you saw flying through the air. Did you hear any sounds associated with that item?
A faint hissing sound.
We talked about you seeing some flashes in the area by that emergency or the exit door. Are you familiar with the sound of gunfire?
Yes.
You ever been to like the shooting range?
Yes.
Does your family own any firearms?
Objection. Relevance.
What's the relevance?
The relevance is, Your Honor, he will testify to a certain sound that he heard that he knows what it sounds like because of his experience with firearms.
All right, overruled.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
How about a shotgun? Does your dad own a shotgun?
Yes.
Ever seen him use it?
Yes.
And you've ever heard the sound of a shotgun racking?
Yes.
So I want to ask you a few questions about the sounds that you heard in the theater. Did you hear any sounds in the theater that to you sounded like gunfire?
Yes.
Did you hear sounds that were different? In other words, that sounded like different types of guns were being fired?
Yes.
How many different types of sounds did you hear? In other words, that sounded like different guns?
2.
Two or three? Or I mean, I just want to make sure we get the right answer.
3. Sorry.
Okay. Well, you tell me.
3.
Okay. Did you hear something to you that sounded like a handgun?
Yes.
Did you hear something to you that sounded like a shotgun?
Yes.
And did you hear something to you that sounded like a rifle?
Yes.
I want to ask you about the shotgun. How many shotgun shots did you think you heard?
6.
You've talked about that you're familiar with a shotgun. Did you hear any other sounds when you were in the theater that would be consistent with what you would expect to hear when a shotgun is being fired?
No.
Did you hear sounds about racking a shotgun is what I'm asking.
Objection.
Yes.
Asked and answered.
I'm not sure if he has that question, so I'll allow it.
What was your answer?
Yes.
Okay. How many times would you say you heard that sound of a shotgun being racked?
Too many times to count. Everything was going so fast.
So would it be fair to say that when all these events are going on, it's difficult to sort of put things in order
Yes.
and to have a count and things like that?
Yes.
And the rifle shots that you heard, were they faster or slower than the shotgun shots? I mean, as far as the time in between shots.
Faster.
Could you tell us how many rifle shots you think you heard?
No.
I want to get you now to, you're in the seat with your friend, and your sister's down there, a few rows in front of you, and these gunshots start. All right, can I get you to that point in time?
Yes.
What happens to you and around you when those gunshots start?
Everyone started screaming. I pulled Leoka down behind the seats to try to shield her or just to get her out of the line of fire. And then I started telling her to go out of the row. Just stay.
Let me
well,
stop
still.
you there. Let me stop you there. When you're talking to her and you're telling her to go, are you down too, or are you standing up?
I'm down too.
And I'd like you to describe where you were in relation to her. Were you on top of her? Were you behind her, in front of her?
I was behind her.
And you said it's time to go. Were you pushing her?
Yes.
What happened then when you told her to go and you were pushing her?
We started crawling fast across the ground to try to get out of the row. And then we reached the end of the row of the seats. She got out first, and right as soon as I got out, I got hit in the leg.
Let me stop you there for a second and just step back a few steps. When you were crawling along, was the gunfire still going on?
Yes.
And when you got up, did you stand up all the way, or were you sort of crouching?
Sort of crouching.
How about your friend?
She was standing up.
Now, you talked about getting hit, so I want to go to that moment when that happens. Tell me where you were. I mean, were you right there getting out of that row, or were you up, or somewhere in between? Tell me where you were.
I was getting out of the row, about to, still crouched, about to stand up, and I got hit in the leg. I went down on one knee because the pain of the burning on my skin hurt, and then I just ran out of the exit door.
Was that the exit door at the top?
Yes.
And what was your friend doing when all this was going on?
She was out of the exit door on the balcony crying. She was outside. She was...
Let me stop you for a second there. We'll get there. How long would you say it took you then to get from your row up to that exit door?
A minute.
Were you limping or were you running? How were you getting there?
A little bit of both.
You talked about getting hit in the leg and going down to your knee. Was your leg in any pain?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
Well, actually, counsel did not let me finish my question. I paused perhaps when I should not have.
Okay.
Was your leg in any pain as you were going up those stairs?
Yes.
When you got to the top of the stairs and when you're on your way up there, was the gunfire still going on?
No.
Okay. At some point in time, did you hear like an emergency siren or a fire alarm or something like that?
Fire alarm. Yes.
When did that happen?
Halfway through the shooting.
When you get to the top of the stairs, is your friend there or is she already outside?
She was there.
What did you do then when you got to the top of the stairs?
I had to take a minute on the balcony to catch my breath because of the smoke that was inside the theater. And I went downstairs from the balcony outside to try to find everyone.
Let me go back a second. You talked about you had to take a breath because of the smoke that was inside the theater. You'd already talked about how you had started coughing and had some discomfort as a result of that smoke. Did that stay with you your entire time inside Theater 9 from when it first started until you got out?
Yes.
Did it get worse or better?
A little worse, yes.
So I'd like you to describe then the effects of that gas on you when you're there at the top of the stairs, right before you take a minute to get your breath.
Objection. Cumulative. Rule 403.
Overruled?
I had a really hard time breathing. I couldn't see straight. I had a hard time swallowing, and I was coughing to try to get the smoke out to get my body back to normal.
You talk about getting to the top of the stairs.
Yes.
Did you then leave the theater?
Yes.
Did you run? Did you walk? Did you limp? How'd you get out there?
I ran down the stairs. I didn't feel any pain anymore because of the adrenaline that was going on. And I ran down the stairs out of the theater.
Were you with your friend?
No. She left at the time to find everyone else.
When you got outside, did you find your sister
Yes.
and her friends
Yes.
and your friend?
Yes.
Now you talked about friend. When you got outside, you talked about you got hit. Did any of them appear to be injured?
No.
Did you see anybody outside the theater that appeared to be injured?
Objection. Relevance. 403.
Sustained.
Did you eventually get home?
Yes.
How'd that happen?
My father got a call from my sister saying about what happened.
Don't have to go into what she was saying. Did he come and pick you up?
Yes.
When you got home, did you have a chance to look at your leg?
Yes.
Did you see any injuries on your leg?
Yes.
When we talk about these injuries, I want to ask you a little bit back. Was there any blood? Were you bleeding?
Yes.
Where were you bleeding from?
On the side of my leg.
When you got home and you had a chance to look at your leg, did you clean off the blood?
Yes.
Did you see any injuries then? What did you see?
Open wounds a little bit, but mostly a ricochet that had enough force to cause an injury.
Your Honor, I'm going to approach the witness with what's been marked as People's Exhibit 4870. I'm going to show it to counsel first.
All right.
Do you recognize that?
Yes,
Whose leg is that?
that is my leg.
And there are a number of red dots with a green circle around them. What are they?
Those are where I got hit.
Is this an accurate depiction of what your leg looked like after you left the theater and you cleaned off the blood?
Yes,
And who put these circles around the red dots?
my mother.
Your Honor, move to admit 4870.
Is there any objection?
No, sir.
All right, without objection, P-TR-4870 is admitted and may be published.
Thank you. If we could please put that up. $48.70. Can I have a second, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, I think I'm going to have to use the document camera.
All right.
If we can zoom in on that portion, lower portion of the leg, because it's kind of hard to see on this, and push that up a little bit. Thank you. Is that what your leg looked like, sir, after you got
Yes.
home? Can I have a second, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have no further questions on direct examination. Thank you.
All right. Mr. King, do you have any cross-examination?
I do not. Thank you.
And the jury does not appear to have any questions for this witness. May this witness be released from his subpoena, Mr. Orman?
Please, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any objection?
None.
All right, thank you, sir. Please call your next witness.
Your Honor, the people called Donnie Chavis.
Good morning, sir. Can I have you raise your right hand so that I can administer an oath? You solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. All right, please be seated. Could you hand me that exhibit there, please? Thank you. Sir, could you please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last names?
Donnie Chavis, DONNIECHAVIS.
Ms. Pearson, you may proceed.
Mr. Chavis, how are you employed?
I work for the United States Postal Service.
And were you employed by the Postal Service in July of 2012?
Yes, ma'am.
At that time, where were you working? Which post office?
I was working at the Fletcher Post Office in Aurora, Colorado.
And what did your duties consist of at that time?
At that particular time, I was the acting manager for the Fletcher Station, which basically manages a post office operation,
Where is that post office located? What's the address?
1550 Dayton Street, Aurora, Colorado, 80010.
And is that slightly north of Colfax?
That is correct, between Colfax and 16th Avenue.
Does the post office sell things like package mailers?
Yes, they do.
Do people sometimes buy those but not use them to immediately mail something?
Yes, that is correct.
How do you reflect that an item's been purchased if someone's taking it with them and not using it to mail at that particular time?
The practice with the window clerks are they will date stamp the mailer or the item with the date stamp on the back of the mail piece.
Mr. Chavis, I'm going to hand you what's been previously introduced as People's Exhibit 342.
And Ms. Pearson, that's been admitted already, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Do you recognize that as the type of mailer that is sold by the post office?
Yeah, it is a United States Postal Service product.
And is there anything on that particular packaging that reflects that the date that it was purchased?
Yes, it will be indicated on the back near the barcode area with the date stamp of the time and date, or actually of the date that the mailer was actually purchased, yes.
And is there a stamp on this particular package?
Yes, it is.
What's the date that this package was purchased?
July 12th, 2012.
Now, if you could take a look at the address that's on the front of that package, do you recognize that address as one that you deliver mail to from the Fletcher Post Office?
Yes, I do.
And is Saturday delivery, do they get Saturday delivery at that particular address?
With this address, they do not have Saturday delivery.
They get delivery Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday, yes.
Thank you. I don't have any additional questions.
Is there any cross-examination, Mr. King?
No, thank you.
All right. And the jury does not appear to have any questions for this witness. May this witness be released from his subpoena?
I have no objection, Your Honor.
All right.
He may.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can give that back to Ms. Pearson. Thank you. Call your next witness, please.
Stephanie Benitez, Your Honor.
Good morning. If you would come around here, please, and then if I could have you raise your right hand so that I can administer an oath. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please be seated. Could you please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last names?
Yes, my name is Stephanie Diane Benitez, StephanieDianeBenitez.
Mr. Orman, you may proceed.
Thank you. What do you do for a living?
I am a special agent with the FBI.
What is your normal duty assignment?
I normally investigate cases, specifically civil rights cases involving human trafficking investigations.
Now, this is not such a case, correct?
Correct.
What was your job as far as this case is concerned?
On this particular case, I am also a member of our evidence response team. And on this particular case, I was assigned to process evidence and collect evidence at the defendant's apartment.
Specifically, which room were you primarily responsible for?
Specifically, the living room.
I want to ask you about some items collected from the living room. If I showed you items that you collected, would you be able to recognize them?
I would.
Your Honor, if I may have leave to approach at will the witness with various items of evidence.
Yes.
First of all, I'd like to show you some photographs that have been previously admitted. I'd like to put up 2475, please. And actually, if we go to 2493, I'll start a little different place. I'm sorry, 2393. What are we looking at there?
We are looking at a picture of a Batman mask.
And where was that located?
This item was located in the defendant's living room, and it was prominently displayed on the television television stand in the living room.
And if we could please put up 2394. What does this represent?
This is a closer view of the same item, item 19, which is the Batman mask.
Your Honor, I'm going to approach the witness with what has been marked for identification as People's Exhibit 798.
All right.
Do you recognize that?
I do.
What is that?
This is a Batman mask that's depicted in this photograph. The photograph is an accurate depiction of this mask. And this is an item I collected in the defendant's living room. I know so because my initials are on the bag, and I recall collecting it.
Move to admit, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
Without objection, it is admitted.
Now, I want to ask you one more question about the, we can take that photograph down. The item that you have in your hand appears to have like a dust or a patina on it of some type of dust. Is that consistent with fingerprint processing?
Yes, it is.
So was it like that when you originally handled the item and put it in evidence?
No, it was not.
I'd like to go to the next piece of evidence, and if we could please put up photograph that 2377, which has been admitted into evidence. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at orange wire. This was found in the defendant's living room and actually stretched from the defendant's living room into the defendant's kitchen area. It was woven through a bicycle that was also in the living room and through various other components.
If we could please put up photograph exhibit 2378, which has been admitted. What are we looking at there?
This is the same orange wire, item 12, that was in the defendant's living room through the kitchen. This is an accurate picture of the orange wire.
You talked about it being woven in through the bike. Were you able to collect this item?
I was.
What did you do to get it out of the bike?
Unwove it through the spokes.
I'm going to approach, Your Honor, with what has been marked as People's Exhibit 799.
All right.
Is that the orange wire that is depicted in photo exhibit 2378?
It is.
Move to admit, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
Without objection, P-TR-799 is admitted.
If we could please put up photograph exhibit 2354, which has been admitted. What are we looking at there?
We are looking at a printout of a Fandango movie ticket that was found in the defendant's living room in the bottom of a desk drawer.
If we could please see 2358, which has been admitted. What is that?
This is another closer image of the same item as just discussed. Fandango movie ticket for The Dark Knight Rises with a confirmation number.
I'm going to approach the witness, Your Honor, with what has been marked for identification as People's Exhibit 801.
Okay.
Is that the movie printout ticket, or movie ticket printout that is depicted in photo exhibit 2358?
It is.
Move to admit, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
Without objection, P-TR-801 is admitted.
If we could please put up admitted exhibit 2473. What are we looking at there?
We are looking at an item that I collected. It was a launch controller that was found in the apartment of defendant's living room.
If we could please put up admitted exhibit 2474. What is that?
That is the same item.
I'm going to approach the witness with what I've marked as People's Exhibit 802, Your Honor.
All right?
Is that the item that is depicted in photograph Exhibit 2474?
It is.
Move to admit, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Engler?
No objection.
Without objection, P-TR-802 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. If we could please put up photo exhibit, which has been admitted, 2475. What is that?
That is an IED light.
You mean LED light?
I'm sorry, LED light.
If we could please put up the next one, 2476. And what does that show?
That is also the LED light.
Where was that located?
That was located on the floor in the living room of the defendant's apartment.
Did you collect that?
I did.
I'm going to approach the witness with 803, Your Honor.
Okay?
Thank you.
Is that the item depicted in photo exhibit 2476?
It is.
Move to admit, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No.
Without objection, P-TR-803 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. If we could please put up photo exhibit, which has been admitted, 2469 and 2470. What are we looking at there?
We are looking at a CPU fan that I collected in the defendant's apartment. It was found in the living room on the floor.
I'm going to approach, Your Honor, with what I've marked as People's Exhibit 804.
Okay?
Is that the item that is depicted in photograph 2470?
It is.
Move to admit 804, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No.
Without objection, P-TR-804 is admitted.
I want to ask you about an item near the door to the defendant's apartment, specifically the door jamb. Did you collect an item near the door jamb?
I did.
And it's going to be a kind of a hard one to see because it's a little washed out, but it's Exhibit 2398, which has been admitted. What are we looking at there?
We are looking at the front door and specifically the door jamb of the apartment. While it's hard to see, there is a thumbtack with a fishing line that was attached to the thumbtack, and it is actually depicted in this photograph.
I'm going to approach with 805, Your Honor.
Okay?
Thank you.
Is 805 the thumbtack and fishing line from the defendant's door jamb?
It is.
Move to admit 805, Your Honor.
Any objection?
Objection to 805.
Did you say no objection to 805?
No objection.
All right. Without objection, P-TR-805 is admitted.
Thank you. If we could please put up photo exhibit 2491, which has been admitted, and 2492. What are we looking at there? What area of the house?
This is in the defendant's living room. This is actually a tactical mirror that was located on the TV stand in the living room.
So when we saw the previous picture with the Batman mask on top of the TV, would that be the same TV?
It is.
And you can sort of just see the bottom of it there?
Yes,
Did you collect that item?
I did.
If I may approach, Your Honor, with what has been marked as People's Exhibit 806.
Yes.
Is that the item that is depicted in Photo Exhibit 2492?
It is.
Move to admit, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No.
Without objection, P-TR-806 is admitted.
Are you familiar with what that is?
I am.
What is a tactical mirror?
A tactical mirror is something that law enforcement or others may use. It's a way to look around corners without exposing your body to harm.
And that item there, does it telescope out?
It does.
Sort of like an old-fashioned antenna?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next one. If we could have People's Exhibit, which has been admitted, 2489. What are we looking at there?
We're looking at a pair of black tennis shoes and gloves.
And 2490.
Same tennis shoes and gloves, different photograph.
And actually, just to put this in perspective a little bit, if we could take a look at 2488. And would that be the top of like a thermos?
It is.
And is that the corner of a wall there in the lower right-hand corner?
Yes.
So the shoes that we just looked at, would they be just off picture?
Yes, just looking at this north of the gloves.
Thank you. Your Honor, I am going to approach with what has been marked as People's Exhibit 807 and 808.
Okay.
And you know, I think I see, you don't have to keep all that stuff on your lap. You can move the ones that we've already done up to that
Okay.
shelf behind you.
Thank you.
We haven't done that one yet, though. What are 807 and 808?
These, as described shown in the photograph, it's a pair of gloves and a pair of shoes.
Are those the gloves and shoes that were found near the doorway to the defendant's apartment?
Yes, they are.
Move to admit, Your Honor.
For the record, which one's which?
They were collected together, so they were both item.
Well, you said there are two exhibit numbers.
Yes.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out which one's 807 and which one's 808.
Your Honor, 808 is the gloves, 807 are the shoes.
All right, any objection?
No.
All right, without objection, P-TR-807 and 808 are admitted.
I'm going to approach with 809, Your Honor.
Okay.
What is this?
This is the thermos top that's depicted in the photograph that's on the screen.
Move to admit, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No.
All right, was that 809?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, P-TR-809 is admitted without objection.
I want to and now ask you about some flashlights. Did you find any flashlights,
I did.
and where were they?
They were located in the living room in the defendant's apartment.
I want to show you some photographs of those. If we could please put up 2481, which has been admitted. What is that?
That is one of the flashlights I collected.
And 2482.
Same flashlight.
2483.
Another flashlight, the green flashlight.
And is that the bike?
It is.
All right, 2484. Does that just show the evidence placard?
Yes, with the flashlight.
Okay, 2485.
And this is the third flashlight.
Where is that located?
That's located on a chair that was in the living room.
And 2486.
Same flashlight.
I'm going to approach with People's Exhibit 810, Your Honor.
Did you say 18?
I'm sorry, 810, 810.
All right.
Are those the flashlights?
They are.
Move to admit, Your Honor.
No objection.
Without objection, P-TR-810 is admitted.
If we could please put up admitted photo 2361. And 2369 now, which is a closer photo, and then 2370. What are we looking at there?
We're looking at actually three different items that were collected. The CPU fan, which we have already discussed, and then some two black pressurized tanks, and then in the rear of the photograph you can see 2 jars of handgun rounds.
Did you collect those tanks?
I did.
Your Honor, I am going to approach the witness with what has been marked as People's Exhibit 811.
All right.
Thank you.
Are those the tanks?
They are.
If we could please put up photograph 2495. It's been admitted. And 2496. What are we looking at there?
We're looking at an oil bottle.
Do you remember the brand?
Rotella or Pennzoil? There were two.
Okay. And is that just sort of standard motor oil you might buy at a grocery store or department store?
Yes.
If we could please put up photograph 3987, which has been admitted. What are we looking at there?
We're looking at a remote control.
Like for a toy car?
Right.
And if we could back off a little bit, it's photograph 3986. Give a little perspective. Where is that located?
That was found in the living room in the corner just to the left of a bookshelf.
And did you collect that?
I did.
I'm going to approach with 813, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Orman, did you intend to move the admission of P-TR-811?
Oh, yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, is there any objection?
No.
Without objection, P-TR-811 is admitted.
And I move to admit 813, Your Honor.
Any objection, Ms. Spengler?
No.
Without objection, P-TR-813 is admitted.
I want to ask you about some air fresheners. Did you see any air fresheners in the defendant's apartment?
I did.
If we can see some photographs of those. If we could please put up 3971. Did you collect that item?
I did.
Where was it?
It was on the floor in the living room of the defendant's apartment.
3972, please. And is that just an evidence placard with the same thing?
Yes.
3973. What is that?
That is also an air freshener.
Where'd you find that?
On the floor in the defendant's living room.
3974. Is that a placard for that?
Yes.
3975. What are we looking at there?
Additional air fresheners
Do you remember where those were located?
on the floor in the living room.
Did you collect those?
I did.
I'm going to approach with what has been marked as 814, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Are those the air fresheners you collected from the defendant's apartment?
Yes, they are.
I move to admit, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No.
Without objection, P-TR-A14 is admitted.
Now, I want to ask you one question about that. It's within 2 plastic bags, but can you actually smell anything when you smell that?
I can,
What does it smell like?
like an air freshener.
Okay. I want to show you now a photograph, which has been admitted exhibit 3969, and then 3970. Do you know what that is?
Yes, it's a gasoline tag.
Did you collect that?
I did.
I'm going to approach with 815, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that the gasoline tag?
It is.
Now, do you know where you found that?
On the floor in the living room in the defendant's apartment.
Is that actually one of the air fresheners I see up in the upper right-hand corner?
It is.
Thank you. If we could please put up photo exhibit 2361, which has already been admitted. All right, that's that sort of living room area again, and I want to zoom in a little bit with 2369. Now, it's kind of, actually, this sound was kind of blurry. Why don't we try 2368? We see a couple of jars there. Did you collect those?
I did.
What was inside of them?
They were handgun rounds.
And by rounds, you mean bullets?
Yeah, bullets. There were approximately 323 of the rounds inside both the jars.
You say approximately. Is that FBI speak for exactly?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you do that?
Okay, 323 rounds.
Okay. I'm going to approach with what has been marked as People's Exhibit 816.
Mr. Orman, did you intend to move to admit 815?
I did. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm sorry for neglecting that.
That's court speak for you forgot to do that. Is there any objection, Ms. Spengler?
No objection.
All right, without objection, P-TR-A15 is admitted.
All right, 816, is that the jars of bullets and the bullets?
Yes, they are.
I move to admit, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No.
Without objection, it is admitted.
I want to ask you about something that's kind of big and ungainly, so we don't have it here. I just want to show you some pictures of it. If we could please take a look at 3977, which has been admitted. And then 3978. What is that?
This is a gun cleaning bench and target stand, which I found on the living room floor of the defendant's apartment.
And then 3979. Was that nearby?
Yeah, those are pieces to the stand. They're actually one had been, you can tell had been used because there's a round through it, or an indentation, I'm sorry, through the bar.
And 3980. And actually, if we can zoom in on, there's a sort of right in the middle, there's a discoloration in the, go down a little bit, over to the left a little bit. Now just There you go. Thank you. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Thank you. We can take that down. If we can please put up photo 2371 and 2372. Now that is, what is that?
Those are black half spheres. They fit together to make an entire sphere. There were 36 large spheres and 8 small spheres. Additionally, there's fuses that were around the spheres.
Because they had fusing and stuff in it, is that kind of a special evidence? It has to be held in a special locker,
Yes.
like at a bomb range?
Yes.
I don't have those in the courtroom here for you, but are you aware whether or not those were sent to the lab?
They were.
And if someone from the lab were going to look at those, would there be a lab number associated with those?
They were. Our lab at Quantico will put a Q number attached to it if they examine it.
Do you know what the Q number is for that?
It was Q41.
Thank you. Did you collect, though, some other spheres that didn't have the fusing in them and in fact were in a plastic bag?
Yes.
Where were those collected from?
In the defendant's living room on the floor.
I'm going to approach with what's been marked as 838, Your Honor.
All right.
What is that?
These are the spheres.
Move to admit, Your Honor.
Any objection, Ms. Pengler?
No.
Without objection, P-DR-A30 is admitted.
Your Honor, can I just have a moment, check my notes, make sure I haven't missed anything?
Yes.
Thank you. I want to ask you about another item that we don't have here today. If we could please put up photo exhibit 2393. Actually, sorry about that. You mentioned a bottle of Rotella oil. Did you collect that?
I did.
Where was that located?
On the floor in the living room of the defendant's apartment.
Was that, we had seen a photo of a bottle of Pennzoil before, which was sort of a standard quart bottle, it looked to me. Was this a larger type bottle?
I'm unsure of sizes.
Okay.
It was about the same size as the Pennzoil.
One more item I want to ask you about. That would also be something that would go to the locker that we were talking about, 2396. Did you collect that?
I did.
And fair to say that's fusing?
Yes.
So if you let a match to it, it could create a problem?
Objection, Your Honor. Outside the scope of this witness's testimony.
Sustained.
Do you know why you would want to keep that in a separate place that wouldn't be where you store the normal evidence?
Objection to relevance.
Overruled.
It could be very flammable.
I want to ask you one more question about the apartment. When you were, how long would you say you were in there?
I would say approximately, probably 6 to 8 hours.
During the time that you were there, apart from the air fresheners, which we've already talked about, did you smell anything that you would not normally expect to smell in an apartment?
Yes, there was a strong smell of gasoline.
Did that remain the entire time that you were in the apartment?
It did. It got very strong, and so we put on masks toward the end of the search because of the fumes.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions. I will ask to publish the exhibits.
All right. Ms. Spengler, do you have any cross-examination?
No.
The jury may have a question for you, so give us a moment, please. Thank you. Would counsel please approach? Special Agent Benitez, the jury has submitted a question for you that I have found based on the rules of evidence and other applicable rules of law is appropriate. The question is, what did the black tanks, item number 9, contain, if you know? And you can only answer if you know. You can't speculate. So if you don't know, then that's what we need to hear.
They were pressurized tanks, and I am not sure what if I speculate, which I'm not allowed to do, it's something that needs to be kept under pressure.
All right, Mr. Orman, any follow-up questions?
No, Your Honor.
Any follow-up questions from you, Ms. Spengler?
No.
May this witness be released from our subpoena?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The request to publish the exhibits that were just admitted through Special Agent Benitez is granted, and so Ms. Robinson and Ms. Gerlitz, if you would, please. Okay, the records are reflected. We just finished publishing the exhibits that were admitted through Special Agent Benitez. All right, call your next witness, please.
The people call Greg McGahee.
Morning, could I have you raise your right hand so that I can administer an oath? Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please be seated. Could you please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last names?
It's Greg McGahee, G-R-E-G-M-C, capital G-A-H-E-Y.
Ms. Pearson, you may proceed.
Who do you work for?
The United States Postal Inspection Service.
What do you do for them?
I'm a criminal investigator,
So what is your title?
postal inspector.
How long have you worked for the Postal Service for the inspection?
I've been a criminal investigator for the inspection service for 12 years.
Prior to that, did you work in law enforcement somewhere else?
I did.
Where was that?
I was a local police officer here in Aurora for 12 years.
At the Aurora Police Department?
That's correct.
What does the Postal Inspection Service do?
We are federal agents that investigate any crimes that have a nexus to the U.S. mails system, make sure that the integrity and that nobody misuses the mail. We investigate anything from mail fraud to robberies, burglaries, drugs through the mail, stuff like that.
As part of your jobs, have you had to learn how the Postal Service collects and processes mail?
Yes.
How did you become familiar with that?
That was kind of a long procedure of going through the academy and just kind of a on-the-job type learning how the system works and how packages and how different mail pieces move, throughout the system, throughout the world.
I want to ask you specifically if you did an investigation into a piece of mail that was mailed by the defendant James Holmes to a Dr. Lynn Fenton at the C.U. Anschutz Medical Center in July of 2012. Did you conduct an investigation into a particular piece of mail?
I did, yes.
But before we talk about that, could you tell us what happens when you mail a package? If you drop it into a mailbox or you drop it at a post office, where does it go?
Well, if you drop it at a post office, eventually a collection truck will pick it up and take it down to the general mail facility where it is processed to determine what part of the country or world it's going to go to. And likewise, the blue collection boxes that you see around town, a similar type truck will go around and actually pick up those particular pieces of mail, take them to the same place where they get processed for outbound, and then the processing comes back for inbound, coming back into Denver.
Is there a way to tell when a particular piece of mail was actually mailed?
Only if an individual would actually go to a counter of a post office and actually pay for it at that time, there would be the point of sale. There would actually be a part of the mail that would show the date and time that the mail piece was placed into the mail stream. So,
If that hasn't occurred, is there a way to tell when a piece of mail has been processed?
there is, yes. So the way the mail processing, it's automated, becoming more and more automated. In the past, you would have a package, there would be an address on it, and you'd physically have to enter the zip code of where it's going to be going, and then that would send it off to whatever city or state or wherever its final destination. The automation, it is on a conveyor belt, and it's actually an optical image of the piece is taken, and then a computer basically defines that and then does the exact same thing a person would have done just by the optical image of the zip code, and then it'll break it all the way down to the address as it gets through different machines.
Does the Postal Service keep copies of those images as part of their ordinary course of business?
Yes, they do.
Do you have the ability as a postal inspector to access that information, to get copies of the images, and to get the information that would be contained about a particular package?
Yes.
Did you do a search for the package that was mailed by the defendant to Dr. Lynn Fenton?
I did, yes.
I'm going to hand you what's been previously admitted as People's Exhibit 342. Did you do a search for this particular piece of mail?
Yes, I did.
And did you find photographs within your system that looked like this package?
Yes.
When did you, what did you access in order to find that?
Well, it's a web-based application within the Postal Service that if you run a search by a certain zip code, if that particular city has an automated system, then potentially there will be an image still available that you could actually pull off the optical reader that's been saved.
Is Denver a city that has this kind of imaging?
Denver does, yes.
And if I could have the package back a moment. And if we could see the front of the package on the Elmo. And if I could get a wider shot of that. What does the image look like that you get? How big an image does it tend to be?
It's smaller than this, but it's fairly detailed. It's in black and white.
You can pull back a little more. Does it show both who a package is sent to and who it's sent from?
Yes.
So right now we can't quite see all of this. Was the image that you had, were you able to see the entire package, who it was sent from and who it was sent to when you accessed that image?
Yes.
Now, we've also previously heard some information about how when a mailer is purchased and not used that same day, how it's noted on a package. And if we could turn this package over. As part of your duties as a postal inspector, are you able to access business records for a particular post office?
Yes.
Were you able to do that for the Fletcher post office?
Yes, I was.
And were you able to search how many white bubble mailers like this were sold on July 12th of 2012, which is a date that we can see stamped there right on top of the barcode?
Yeah, I was able to conduct that search, and there was actually only one mailer that was sold that day, along with a book of forever stamps within the same transaction.
Do you recall what the pattern of the forever stamps were that were sold that day?
I don't recall right offhand.
You can take that down. Now, going back to the records from the Postal Service and the Postal Processing Center, by virtue of finding an image of this package, were you able to determine when it was processed by the Postal Service here in Denver?
Yes.
When was that?
So it was, they call them batches, so you can imagine how much mail and packages go through the system. I think that particular batch started on the 20th of July and ended early morning on the 21st, about 6 o'clock p.m., right around that time frame on the 20th, and then that cycle ended on the 21st. So based on that, I would say the mail piece was put in the mail stream probably on the 19th.
How do you, so the batch runs for roughly 9 hours or so?
Yeah, just depending on the volume of mail, but that would be, fairly accurate.
So in order to end up in a batch that began on the 20th at 6 o'clock in the evening and ended at 3 o'clock in the morning on the 21st, when did the item of mail have to be picked up in order to end up in that batch?
It would have to have been picked up after the last pickup period on the 19th. So if it was like 5 o'clock on the 19th and somebody placed it in the mail stream after that, if they dropped it off at a blue collection box that picked up at 3 o'clock, but they dropped it at 9 o'clock, then it wouldn't get picked up till the following day and make that 20th batch of inbound for Denver.
Do you recall what time specifically this item was scanned at the Denver mail facility?
I want to say it is approximately 1:30 on the 21st.
Do you recall if it was 1:51 a.m.?
That sounds right.
And on July 21st?
Yes.
So that would be early Saturday morning?
Early, yes.
So based on it having gone into the batch sometime in Friday evening, the 20th, and being scanned early Saturday morning, it had to have been mailed sometime after the last pickup on the 19th? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Otherwise, would it have been in the batch the night before?
In all likelihood, yes, it would have been in the batch the night before.
Thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Is there any cross-examination, Mr. King?
No, thank you.
The jury does not appear to have any questions for this witness. May this witness be released from his subpoena, Ms. Pearson?
He may, Your Honor.
No objection.
All right, sir, thank you. Members of the jury, it's 10:15, so let's go ahead and take our morning break at this time. Please make sure that you abide by all my advisements during the break. Let's take 20 minutes, and I'll see you back here after the break. Thank you. The record should reflect that the jury has exited the courtroom. Please be seated, everyone. Is there anything we need to talk about at this time on behalf of the prosecution? All right, anything on behalf of the defense?
No, Judge.
All right, enjoy the break, and I'll see you back here in about 20.